Alright, good evening everyone. System Chalk here with the 43rd episode of Cultist Simulator the Dancer DLC, playing as Margaret Zell. We have Fascination on the table, which I think I forgot to mention at the end of the previous episode. Now, we don't have a season of Visions yet, so I'm going to leave that be. But that may be something that I... Actually, you know what? I've got a fleeting reminiscence which is going away soon, so let's clear that out. The doors of vision swing wide, a little darkness will mellow my light, even dread has its uses. Moving on, I also think we should just clear out the last of these books. I don't think they're necessarily going to get me anything that I desperately need right now, but I just want to clear them so I can start using the study verb for other things. Excuse me, sorry. There's probably going to be like 5 more of those if other recordings are an indication. So let's take our Sanskrit and translate that. Lock the study door, the work begins. Now, we were talking at the end of the previous video about how I might have to dance between the gaiety and the subtle fracture. Again, I apologize. And we're on our way to Tower Revik. We'll see what happens with the curse, but we can unpause for now and see... Mostly I just want to see what comes after the season of sickness. I've become unwell. Okay, so we want to avoid dread, otherwise we're fine. I received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So another silver Spintrea for us, Mystique, which I'm not necessarily actively looking for, but we have switched to just sort of flooding the suppression bureau with Mystique to let the evidence decay. Just trying to think about the talk verb if I really want to try and do anything special. See, again, there's a small... actually, I think at this point we should be safe with the evidence. And I don't really want to be using the... I don't really want to be using the reputation for anything, so I think I'm gonna get. I think I am gonna get Leo to. I'm gonna get Leo to work on my reputation. Significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. And the expedition continues. Now we've got Clovette and the Precussagant already in the expedition, so we should be fine against the curse. We'll find out. And inspired work at the Ecdysis Club. The musicians close with a flourish. Some of the audience start as if waking from sleep. Others applaud. One forces his way through the crowd to the exit, face drawn. There's always one. As we skip from the stage, Mr. Ecdysis winks, and here's Sulochana with her clever hands to bandage those of us who went too far. So let's take the gaiety and use our health. The stage awaits, hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. I'm curious why the glimmering got highlighted every once in a while. We call upon the Ringyu who is renewed. We are almost certainly strong enough in heart to be secure against the curse. Now again, you only get one shot at these, so almost always makes me clench my teeth a bit, but we'll see where it goes. Okay. Tonight I sense an opportunity. Tonight I could attract attention if I cease to hold back, if I commit myself more fully. So we'll add the passion here. Tonight they'll notice that. And we'll have to work with a subtle flaw now. So I prepared the text for study. The Thirsting Tantra. C.G. Burial, the temperance campaigner, published elements of this in a pamphlet, which had to be withdrawn and destroyed after it became too popular. A disquisition of the many varieties of thirst, their uses, and their effects. And sorry, I should have read the composure text. In 6 seconds, that will become treatment. This illness has damaged my health. I will need to rest before I'm fully recovered. So we will dream about the affliction, add the vitality. All I need now is time. I felt all their eyes upon me. Afterwards I received a gift from an admirer. A little too personal for me to feel comfortable, but I can sell it in the second-hand market. So, what I'm going to try and do is summon a Caligain. We should be able to work with that. So we'll add the Subtle Flaw, and then I think it's Forge in Winter. Summon a creature, Smoky Deception. Forge for the Smoky Spirit summoning, Winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. The curse shrivels. Our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. Alright, so that is a good little turn for us. So, Season of Ardors is coming up, so because we're single, we're content. Just like in life. And we will... We'll see what the next day brings us. We'll also be able to get some commissions from Jannings, Adim, Bichet, but we'll see. Yeah, I can wait the 3 seconds. Looks like we also have another Course of the Heart, so if we do wind up sick, we're still in good shape. The Good Count's fraternity in Europe is seeking particular research. Let's see what he wants. In 10 seconds, we should be able to clear out everyone in 30 seconds. And we will see what Tower Revik has for us. Here's what he needs. A simple commission on Edge. That won't be too difficult for us. Well, pretty much any of the commissions won't be tough. But the thing that's nice about the small ones is that they don't take up a lot of your passion and reason. You noticed a couple, I think it was the start of this week, that we had a couple of cases where we actually used up all of our abilities, and so we had, like, we weren't, it didn't cause us a problem in the sense that we couldn't have done something that we wanted. There was always sort of a second path, whether, you know, we used passion instead of heart or the other way around. But one thing that's sort of nice about the simpler commissions, even though they don't pay you in the higher Spentrea values, what it does do is it's not a big demand on your abilities, and so if you need to use them for other things such as summonings or, you know, or some of your other tasks, it's just a nice way to kind of keep an alternative income stream coming in. Sorry, it sounds like a self-help YouTube channel or whatever, the grind set nonsense that goes around. It's self-help. It's just with a different packaging. But yeah, it's, in this case, it's something that's pretty minor on our. It's not a big draw on our resources, so we should have it done pretty quickly, and we can either get a new one faster or we move on to something else. Let's get our commission from Dr. Redeem. The Tantra describes how the satisfaction of thirsts may allow a mortal to rise into the service of the thirsting power, but warns of the consequences of rejecting those rarer thirsts for common ones. A man who thirsts, O Mighty One, whose mind clings to actions in this world, will return to this world of action from that other place. So I think we already had the Thakic Invocation and the Rite of Cease Fasting, so we'll move on to our last Tantra, the Tantra of Worms. The entomologist Juliana Zawitsowski eventually came to insist that this text was written by insects inhabiting a human skin. She never presented evidence for her claim. Lock the study door, the work begins. And the sick room grows close and stale, time to get up. Alright, let's go back to the White Door, I think. I don't have that much that I want to do. In my dreams I know the path to the White Door, through the bounds, but that path is thronged with the dead who passed that way. I will need health to resist their chill. Now I approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the mantis. And another simple commission, this one on the secret histories. Finally, Madame Bichet. She is seeking pieces for the notorious Karashim Review. And the summoning is struggling against my control. I could use reason to dismiss it safely, which is always reliable, or I could try and reassert control with passion, which is not always reliable, or I could let what will happen happen. I guess the question is, how badly do I need the Callagine? And I think the answer is not that much. We don't have an expedition that we're going to be going on to next, so it would have been nice to have it, but it's not, it's by no means critical. Beneath the tower is a cramped cellar with cracked slate walls. The proportions, it should be a perfect cube, but somehow there are too many corners. Blue light festers in the junction of the ceiling and wall. The floor flexes slowly, like the skin of a bubble. It echoes to a stamped foot. What space is open beneath? Alright, all simple commissions this time. So I think we're just going to send Leo back on his charm offensive. Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. And we need to head to the Gaiety pretty much right away, but we'll move on to other things soon enough. It's gone, we're safe. The stage awaits, hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. A long-delayed conclusion. Bundle the books into a sack. Hurry up the handholds to the tower stump. The sky above ripples with cobalt aurora. The hills around are washed with shutters of blue light. There is a high and singing sound from the stones of the tower as we leave. Lightning cracks from the sky, and suddenly everything is silent. The tower stump is gone. Okay, so bitter black salts, that's a pigment, but of course we've already painted with them. We have How the End Will Begin, a book of bleak prophecy. That's in Vax, so not much we can do with that. The Twin Serpent Tantra, a tantra shrouded in particular obscurity. Actually move that a little closer to the front. The Furious Tantra, as later transcribed by the medium and pyrotechnician Jacob Oliver Top Mugglestone. Tradition has it that he found it seared in the bark of an oak by lightning. So... and all my people. Okay, so first thing we want to do is use the forbidden epics. So those stories that have been forbidden are the ones most apt for us to read. William Gore. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch out the percussagent for... switch out the Wildwood Club and add the percussagent for a few seconds just so that we can preserve... Oh, that's right, we can't talk about it. Alright. I may just try... well, 168 seconds. I was going to try resummoning it, but I think we'll just go on another expedition right away. It would have been nice for me to work with the scraps that I have to try and level them up, but in this case we'll make the most of the percussagent in 43 seconds. Okay, let's read the Tantra of Worms. The Tantra explains various less than practical countermeasures against the worms, the serpents which are not serpents. Moth and Winter are closest to them, and so understand their weaknesses, but both have their own perils. The Lionsmith crushes them, but that's not recommended for mortals. Okay, Season of Suspicion coming up. Now we have a lot of mystique, so we may be able to get through it. In last night's dream, I was in the Lodge of the Sage Knight, behind the White Door. It is difficult to remember exactly how I came there, and the mistress of this place, the woman with the dark glasses, was nodding as if I had asked her a difficult question. Of course I hadn't. I lost my speech when I passed the White Door. "How is it that I can speak?" she said to me. "I didn't come here through the White Door. I'm not proud of what I did to come here, so let me tell you about something else." Now normally we'd be using the erudition and glimmering that we get from our... from all of the different different works, like the commissions that we do, to improve so in this case here, I would want to turn the Forgotten Chronicles into Forbidden Epics so that we can get more expeditions to work on. However, because we are looking to improve to get past the Stag Doors riddle, my higher priority right now is to use all of the lore or all of the books that I already have access to. The other way you can think about it is it's the faster way to get all of the lore. And my argument here, although it's not unassailable, and it's just because if you happen to be able to do a particular subversion at a good time, it can turn out other ways. But even if you have to translate a book, if you think about the time that it takes, 60 seconds to translate, 60 seconds to read, 2 minutes tops to get the lore. And for most of the lore that you want to upgrade to, and again, this is where I sort of say it's not unassailable because, if you just have requires knowledge, that's a considerably simpler upgrade than requires knowledge and intuition. I think it goes up to 3. I don't think there's any more than 3. But essentially what you're looking at is, in addition to acquiring all of those inputs to your upgrades, what you're also contending with is, so first of all, you need to make sure that you have, the Glimmering, the Erudition. You may want to change your HQ. One thing that I do tend to do in Cultist Simulator is I change my HQ quite late, and it's not even as part of a strategy. It's just I'm always working on other things, really. But essentially, the upper bound for gaining lore from texts is 2 minutes. The upper bound for lore from research tends to be quite a bit higher, because there's a couple of other things that you worry about as well. And then, you also have the option of sort of subverting. You can also sort of decompose lore. So if I wanted, I could turn the Centipede Testament into 2 Moldy Warp admonitions. But overall, I just tend to find these manipulations to be a little bit more difficult than just directly reading books. So even if you wind up reading books, I always like to think of them as just giving you the raw materials for your later manipulations with your existing lore. And this is why my default is to sort of meddle with these. But it is fair to say that if you want to be making more constant forward progress, particularly if you were to have picked up this playthrough, playing around with the lore that I already have and essentially sort of evening, or not even evening out, but basically just addressing some of the gaps. You can see them clearly on the desktop. Addressing those gaps would be something that would have made us have a little bit more rapid advancement, but. Largely what I'm expressing here is just kind of a personal preference in terms of how I spend my time in the game. Okay, we'll add passion. This is the opportunity at the Gaiety Club. I felt all their eyes upon me. Afterwards, I received a gift from an admirer. A little too personal for me to feel comfortable, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. Now, as I mentioned before, we aren't really gonna be able to summon the Callagine with the, or maybe I didn't mention this before, but it's very unlikely we're gonna be able to use the Callagine in this case. But one thing I could try is using something like the Bitter Black Salts or the Grey Dawn Oil, given that we've already made the paintings required. So let's actually, you know what? I still have commissions that I can write, so let's focus on those instead. May be useful for a commission. This place merits closer investigation. The Kuznetsov Endowment. Prince Kuznetsov gave 1/4 part of his blood-soaked fortune to the establishment of a department for eschatology at this provincial university. The staff have grown peculiar now, and the buildings fester in a freezing swamp, but some of Kuznetsov's bequest, perhaps, was spent on treasures. So, let's run in and see what we can find. Again, we'll add the percussagant for starters, and then we'll see if we can get any hints. I suspect we're going to need at least a moth follower. The journey to the endowment buildings is not long, but the ground is difficult. We have sent three times for permission to visit, and received a less friendly answer each time. No doubt the staff will attempt to forbid our entry. So I also suspect probably lantern or forge for the journey, but we'll see where it goes. So in that case, the Callagine would have been helpful for the forge. Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. It's maybe not the smartest thing for me to be wiping out Mystique around the time of the Season of Suspicion, but the worms have always been eager to inhabit us. Here are practices which make us inhospitable to them. There are diagrams. The diagrams are not good to look upon, and none of the practices that they depict would allow the subject to survive. So here's the operation of the declining sun. Let's read the Twin Serpent Tantra, a tantra shrouded in particular obscurity. Study door, the work begins. And the second season of Suspicion coming up. Probably should have taken the winter now that I think of it. Last night, I dreamt of a blue silk pavilion overlooking the cloudy labyrinth of the Bounds. I listened to the mistress of this place speak of other visitors. The Suppression Bureau come here. Did you know that? I think they hope to recruit me as an ally, she snorts derisively, after what they tried to do to Christopher. But their folly is your fortune. I will tell you something that may help you if the Bureau ever troubles you. Alright. Let's see what happens when we make it to the Kuznetsov Endowment. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. So, treacherous grounds, pits and crags, and sudden tumbles. The earth here cannot be trusted. We will need strong hands or clear sight. The Watchers, mortals, perhaps even ordinary mortals, but quite a number of them. They can be fought, seduced, or deceived. And finally, a hidden door. Hidden doors can be found with lantern or knock. So I think we're going to send our lantern combo of Cat Caro and Pope Clifton. And that should carry us for the expedition. We'll also have to add money, but that's not a problem. Alright, so we gotta go back to the Gaiety. I would have liked to spend the work slot doing other things. This is one reason why I didn't pick up that winter, because the with 50 seconds to go at the Gaiety, I wouldn't be able to do a summoning right away. And excuse me. I don't recall if a light winter is actually sufficient for the summoning. The other practicality too is we have other ways of getting winter. It's really just a question of getting an influence rather than specifically winter or knock. It just so happens that knock is a really convenient one because you can pick your combination of the other factors, right? And this is one of the reasons why we spent some time making those paintings. One thing that I have eventually managed to relax a little bit about in terms of the playthroughs. I'm generally... So, if you look at something like Rite of the Crucible Soul or the Rite of the Watchman's Sorrow, these involve sacrificing people and lore. So, as far as giving up people, right, there are ways of abducting people. You can count certain summons for them. But for the most part, that feels like something pretty big to give up. And so you either really want to want the thing that's coming out on the other end of it, or you're pretty desperate, is the way that I tend to think about it. And even in the case of the Rite of the Watchman's Sorrow, like, I, again, have a tendency to keep a lot of lore that I don't need on the table. But it feels like, especially given all the trouble that you go through to get books, it definitely feels quite painful to lose something like that. And as you can notice, my own preferences will generally be things like the sunset right and the right of the map's edge. There are some, again, I can also give other examples of lore where you give up tools and whatnot, but I think you get the idea here. The one case where I have managed to get a little bit more relaxed would be things like Rites of the Seas fasting, where you can sort of give up things like the Grey Dawn oil. And generally I've tended to find that I'll have a lot of pigments anyway. And then on top of that, you know, they're fairly straightforward to get more of. So in those cases, I tend to find them kind of helpful for getting things like Callagines. Another factor that makes it so even if I double up something like a tool, I'm a little more reluctant to give those up for rituals because you can gift tools to people. I don't use it that often, but it is actually something you can do in the game to make your followers even stronger. So again, I tend to find, for my own part, tools, lore, and followers are... Well, sorry, tools, lore, and people, people rather broadly defined, are things that I'm usually unwilling to give up. And it happens to be because, for the most part, there are just simply other, easier ways of getting those components, or alternatives to those components. So we got pretty unlucky as far as the evidence is concerned, but that's life. The watchman will lend virtue to our lamps, and that will show us the perils to avoid, probably. And the watchman will clear our sight so that we can almost certainly pass without error. Just before the outbreak of the Great War, Alexander Sparrow, almost certainly a pseudonym, published leaflets claiming the influence of snake princes on world affairs. The text called the Twin Serpent Tantra was his primary inspiration. The Tantra describes the Great Hooded Princes, a dynasty of princes of unclear origin engaging in prayers, sacrifices, and poetry in honor of the Key Serpent, the Crossroads Twin, and the Mirror Queen. Nagai encircles. Nagai arises from wounds. Nagai spares those who are already harmed. Well, if I wanted a summoning, I got it. Last night, in the great pavilion above the grey sprawl above the bounds, a woman who once called herself Teresa Gallagher sat on gilt-fringed cushions and offered me a horn cup of dream wine. The wine is imaginary, she explained, but the cup is not. To navigate the Mansis, one must understand the distinction. Perhaps one day you will join me on the pilgrimage, or I'll join you. So here, let us share a secret. I want to see what comes out of the investigation. Okay, so there is evidence. Rumor squats on rooftops and flutters in gutters. This hunter is making progress in their investigation. So the one bit of good news is it does... Oh no, okay, we don't need to worry about an investigation. I was just going to say that one thing that's kind of nice is we do seem to be out of the mystique now, so if we're a little less likely to have to worry about the notoriety that emerges. But I am going to have to answer the question, do I want to let the tentative evidence expire on its own, or do I want to try and get rid of rid of it with a moth follower? I'll probably use a moth follower, but I'm not fully set on it yet. Tonight they'll notice that. Okay, looks like Leo didn't quite convince people about the mystique, so we're going to send him out again. Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. Felt all their eyes upon me. Afterwards, I received a gift from an admirer, a little too personal for me to feel comfortable, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. So, let's take that sunset right. Wrong one. Oh, sorry, assistant. I, for some reason, keep thinking I'm using the right of the map's edge, but this one I've been using the sunset right a little bit more. Where are my winter people? Forge for the smoky spirit summoning, winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. Okay. I actually think this is not... Oh, no, we can finish the Twin Serpent Tantra and then call it. I got most of what I wanted done this time around. It's a little complicated because, again, we don't have an expedition even though we're getting the summoning done, but we only have 3 more books to go. And in this case, the books that I was reading, I sort of feel... I feel like it's justified what we did in terms of getting through the getting them done in the order that we did. So we're mud spattered and thorn scratched, but we made it through. So I do need to add more money, but in this case we don't need to add any more followers unless somebody falls in combat or some other activity. Okay, the Great Hooded Princes are described as having escaped from the history of their death to a history where they yet live. The text claims that there are now 108 of them, but in 2 of many instances of twinnedness before they crossed from their death chronicle, there were only 54. So here we've got the Menascade invocation. When the moon's face was wounded, these words appeared. Apparently I aligned the whole thing off of the... Okay. I'll have to adjust these too, I think. There we go. And the Rite of the Mother's Mercy, that's a new one for us. So, can we cram it in? Not really, but I'm going to try it anyway. Alright, nuts. I'll start the translation for the Furious Tantra, as later described... Oh, wait, we read that text already, so... But yeah, I'm probably gonna have to mess around with something. It's fine, excuse me, it's not the end of the world, I just wanted to avoid doing a certain thing. But yeah, we're... the one thing I'm going to be the most interested in the next episode is going to be what we need to do about the evidence. So right now, Season of Ardors is coming up. We'll get some contentment. We really don't have that much to worry about as far as our moods are concerned, the different types of influence. But I am going to have to invest a lot in terms of study, in terms of both upgrading the Forbidden Epics, or upgrading to the Forbidden Epics, as well as getting some other lore. And we're pretty much done as far as lore is concerned. So Deoris, the work we're currently translating, and then finally Against the Sisterhood of the Knot, and the foulness of their depraved customs. So, yeah, it's... as far as lore is concerned, I think we're going to have a little bit of a slog ahead of us. But that's fine. We'll figure out some clever ways to just try and get through it as quickly as we can. And I think a large part of that's going to involve finishing some commissions, because of course that's an easy way for us to get some erudition and glimmering without having to use the study verb. But all of that will be happening in either the next episode, of course that's half an hour, or probably over the next week or so. Thank you very much for watching. If you've been enjoying the series and have not yet done so, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below. And if you would like to be notified about where the video, or when the videos are coming up, there is a little bell beside it which you can use to enable alerts. As always, also, if you did enjoy the video, please consider leaving the like, and I do also appreciate comments. As far as YouTube is concerned, those are really great ways for the videos to get noticed, but of course for me it's always a nice little way of keeping track of what's working for people, and also for a chance to hear from all of you. There should be one more video this week if I always record these in batches, so I believe tomorrow's should be Friday's episode. So if I've got that right, I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.